Hi, and welcome into the Ranch Sitdown. Our guest today, Shane Britt.
10 square miles and a river that runs only when it rains. Mine's been dumping waste in it for years. Seems they know who to pay. Company houses and white steeples on almost every block. Somewhere there's a way out of here if I could find the key to the lock. You better pay attention, you'll get sucked right in. Dreams all covered in dust. In this broke down town, there's Mormons and miners and the rest of us. Payday rich and bills piled high, so high that they can't see. 12 hours, 6 days a week, while they tell themselves they're free. From afar it would seem that they got it all. Ain't got two nickels rubbed together if a house of cards started to fall. You better pay attention, you'll get sucked right in. Dreams all covered in dust. In this broke down town, there's Mormons and miners and the rest of us. In this broke down town, there's Mormons and miners and the rest of us. Stones piled high on my front porch, they seem to think I'm lost. Want me to come down to the front, see the way they found a cross. Someday I'll cross that river, yeah, I'll find out when I'm gone. You speak of love unconditional as you pile those conditions on. You better pay attention, you'll get sucked right in. Dreams all covered in dust. In this broke down town, there's Mormons and miners and the rest of us. In this broke down town, there's Mormons and miners and the rest of us.
Very nice, very nice. Shane Britt joining us here on the Ranch Sit Down, a lead singer, one of the front guys of the band, the Coltrane's.
Yes, sir.
Comes from Arizona.
Originally, China Spring. I guess we're allowed to talk about that. Little town outside of Waco.
No, we're not.
Go Cougars.
Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, yeah. So you grew up in China Springs, living in Arizona now.
So bouncing back and forth. Yeah, moved
Okay.
to Arizona in '89. Spent a ton of time bouncing back and forth. Went to high school for a little while in China Spring.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as home goes, kind of double homes.
That's got to be confusing. Is that you're just hiding from bill collectors?
Yeah,
Is that what it
pretty
is?
much.
I figured that's
Yeah.
probably what
Southeastern
that was.
Arizona is a great place to disappear.
I bet it
We're
is.
about 60 miles as a crow flies from the Mexican border and about 40 miles from the New Mexico border. So we're just kind of nestled in the middle of nowhere.
Great place to hide some people. Is what
Absolutely.
you're saying?
Yeah.
I've seen Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So that last song you did, The Rest of Us, is the
Yes,
new
sir.
one. We just started playing that one here on the ranch.
Yes, sir.
Before that, a song called I'm Not Well. I think John Dempsey had a hand in writing that thing.
John Dempsey wrote that one.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to do anything with it. And I was like, dude, you can't not do something with that.
Right. Yeah, and so that is two really incredibly powerful songs to
Thanks, man.
introduce to our ranch family.
Thank you.
Usually the first song most artists do is like, all right, here's my song about beer. Here we go. You know, like
I can't.
how
do
many
it.
beer songs do you have?
None.
None,
No,
really?
I don't.
Are you scared?
I guess technically we've got a beer song because I wrote a song about growing up small town and, you know, burning rubber and raising hell and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I guess that would qualify as a beer song.
Yeah,
But
I guess so.
I have a tough time writing, trying to imagine. I guess I try to write. I'm kind of fascinated with the human condition,
Mm-hmm.
and so I tend to only want to write things that I can speak to or speak from experience. And then obviously happy stuff is not as easy to draw on as sad stuff is. So I tend to lean on the more introspective stuff, I guess you
Uh-huh.
could say.
Shane Britt
there's a
needs
ton
a
of
hug, it sounds like. Man, geez, are you all right, buddy?
Yeah, there's a
Just
ton
say,
of
no,
songs.
I'm not well.
I'm not well.
Now, that's a song John told me he wrote during the pandemic. So
Man,
that was an anthem for everybody, really.
I mean, I bawled.
Yeah.
When I watched him play it lives to try to make a few bucks during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And work didn't really slow down for me. And so I would try to like record stuff or catch back up. And then in nighttime, I'd go sit in my own like home studio and I would go like play back all the lives from the day.
Yeah.
And dude, that came on, and JD still has the ability when he reaches whatever that place is inside of him. I cry, and I was bawling listening to that song because somebody like him that thrives off of what we all do. So some of us get to do it for a hobby. Some of us have to pay our bills with it.
Right.
And when he reaches those places, it was as real and raw as you could get. And so I kind of put it in the back of my brain. He has a song that he wrote the day Tom Petty died that if he doesn't do anything with it pretty quick,
it's going to be yours.
Oh my gosh! But I kind of
is John just becoming your own personal songwriter
right?
now? I get a block, call John.
I can't do him like he does, man. He's that emotion that pulls out. And I mentioned that I'm not well because when I found out that I was going to be able to do my project at Melody Mountain, I was like, man, I would be really excited to see what they could do with that. All I brought into that project was just me and an iPhone recording of me and a guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had Ben Hussey, Josh Serrato.
And then I brought in Aaron.
Yeah.
Austin Meads. Well, he's with the Damn Quells now.
Damn Quells, yeah.
And I found out that I'm a just massive fan of Zach McGinn.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that Aaron had produced all those early
Dollar
Shine records.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is a lifetime experience. And so I sent a pile of songs in, and then we kind of went through them. I wrote quite a bit with Slade Coulter as well. And so I got everybody's input, but at the end of the day, it was really what those guys felt like grabbing a hold of, because I knew if they felt like grabbing a hold of it, that we were going to get the very best out of everybody, rather than me shoving a song down their throat.
Right.
I presented a pile and go, hey, let's pick. Yeah, I think it ended up being 7. Like, I can afford to do 7 songs.
Right.
So
here we go.
Let's
pick the 7 best out of this
and go with it. So.
That's crazy. Now, you've built some relationships in this music scene that a lot of other artists would be extremely jealous of, dealing with those kind of guys and being able to write with them guys. And, technically a guy that's not 100% in Texas, how did you even make that happen?
Growing up here, I grew up bouncing back and forth. I grew up in the music scene as a fan. And then we'll have to save stories for another day. But basically, music kind of found TJ and I. We didn't really go set out to be a band or to do these things. Yeah.
That wasn't the goal initially.
No, I don't know how much time you have, but
we got all the time you want. I'm not in a hurry.
So TJ and I ended up divorced at like 28, and I grew up in a musical family, but I'd never really taken, I got a guitar for graduation. About every year or so, I'd go print off a bunch of Chris Knight songs, and I'd sit in front of the paper and play it until I got tired of it.
Right.
And got serious about it, and we ended up writing a couple songs, and we were at a Josh Abbott show in 2010 in Flagstaff, and him and I had written a couple songs, and we were talking about maybe doing acoustic type, campfire type stuff. And the owner came out, and we were there early, and I was wearing a UT hat or something, and he goes, "You guys from Texas?" Like, yeah, man, I think it's really cool that you're bringing all these bands that we love through here, but they're always weeknights, like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Right.
This place is 5 hours from where we live.
Oh, wow.
But that's where he had figured out how to route the music that he loved, because I think he was originally from Texas as well.
Okay.
And so he would catch bands on their way on I-40 and say, hey, I'll give you $4,000 for a Tuesday. And so he came out, and I don't remember what really got into me or what we were thinking, because I could hardly play the guitar. But I was like, hey, who's opening? He kind of laughed at me, and he's like, it's Tuesday in Flagstaff. There's no budget. There's no opener. Nobody's beating my door down to come play for $50. And without
You're
even
like
really
$50,
Right.
hey.
well, and Tej is the talented one of the, like, he plays the guitar and all these things.
Oh, yeah?
He's been in bands before and all
Right.
this stuff. He comes back outside and I'm like, I just blurt out, "We'll open." And he kind of looks at me and he goes, "You even have a guitar?" And I was like, "We actually carry him with us." He's like, "Go get your guitars and come in my office." And so I'm freaking out. I'm sweating bullets. So I bring both the guitars in. I open Tej's guitar up real fast and I hand it to him. And I just take a whole lot of time to get my guitar out of the case. And so Tej starts playing and singing, and he plays like 30 Seconds of Alabama by Ragweed. And the guy's like, "Cool, you guys have a name?" He goes, "You can open." And we're like, "No, we don't. No, just, Shane and TJ or whatever."
To be announced.
So we played that night, and I remember fumbling through Wicked Twisted Road and a couple of the classics, and it was ungood on my side. And
breathing heavy, heart pounding.
Oh my gosh.
Just a blur.
So he goes, "I tell you what," he goes, "why don't you guys put a band together and I'll have you back up here." He goes, "I bring all these guys through." He goes, "We'll have you open. Nobody else is really into this kind of music that's playing music." He goes, "It might be a good fit. Why don't you guys put a band together?" So we were like, "Okay, yeah, cool." Didn't really think much of it. And like 3 weeks later, he calls me and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "you get a band together?" And before I can answer, he goes, "I got Robert Earl Keen coming."
Good
And
God.
he goes, we need an opener. And so I go quiet, and he goes, "I want you guys to do it." He goes, "I can't pay you much, but we can put you up next door." And he goes, "You want to?" He's like, "It's already sold out." He goes, You guys want to open for Robert Earl Keen?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And
Holy
he goes,
cow.
"You got a band together, right?" And I was like, "Absolutely."
Right.
So I
And
walked.
so how long before you got on the phone?
Well, I was outside Tej's house. So I walk in at Tej's house. I'm like, "I got some really cool news and some really bad news."
Right.
And he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "We're opening for Robert Earl Keen." He goes, "Man, that's incredible." And he's like, "What's the bad news?" And I was like, "We have to find a band."
How far away was the show? Do you remember?
Like 5.5 hours.
No, I meant
3
like
weeks.
3 weeks. Had to
Yeah.
find a band, learn songs together,
Yeah.
and not embarrass yourself
No.
in front of Robert Earl Keen.
And then you look, which we did.
Did you?
Oh my God.
Do you think it's one of those shows Robert goes, "Yeah, I remember this show
No.
in Flagstaff with this band."
We did all the things that you're just not supposed to do. Like they give us a bar tab and we abuse the bar tab.
Right,
and,
yeah.
We didn't get much of a sound check because they were having problems with sound, and
So you're doing that
I
on the
remember
fly.
sitting in front of the air conditioner in the room, like right across the parking lot, and it's cold outside, and I'm just dumping sweat.
Man.
But we got through it,
Right.
and that's kind of our teeth, because there wasn't anybody else doing it, and so we built relationships, and we opened for bands that we had absolutely no business opening for,
Really.
but that forced us to get like Whiskey Myers and Turnpike, and it was early days,
Right.
but they were coming through, and so we kind of a baptism by fire, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, Tej had already been in touring bands, and so that's kind of, when I say music found us, that's kind of how all that worked.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of found us, and then we kind of established ourselves as support, and then you get to know people, and then you meet other people through other people, and then you come to find out that this music scene is really not that big.
Right, yeah.
And you get to meet people, and 99.9% of them are fantastic humans. And so just this is year 13 for the Coltrane's.
Is it really? Wow.
And so it's just been a process of meeting people and investing in people. And we've had people come up through the ranks in Arizona and be mad because they're not on this show or they're not on that show. And it's like, show up to shows.
Yeah.
Hop up on stage with us. Like,
talk.
Invest into what you got about relationships. And
I think a lot of new artists forget that part. They come in feeling entitled. Is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just not the way it works. And it's not like we're being, exclusive or anything. It's just you're part of a pretty special club as an artist to be involved in this scene. And we all support each other and champion for each other.
And our thing is, like, don't be a 4-letter word. Like,
Yeah.
just be cool.
Yeah,
and,
any of them.
Right,
Yeah,
any of them.
yeah, there's a few of them I'm thinking of right now. Can't say it on the radio.
One that helped us a ton when we were getting going was actually Coop, because we were worried about, like, don't have any silence between, like, Tej would look at me like, "Hey, you need to say something." While we're tuning guitars.
Oh, really?
Well, then you end up like, "Oh, well, this one time, like,
The guy walks into a bar."
So,
yeah.
We met Coop opening for he was opening for Stoney one night, and he comes out, kills it. So we went and found him and kind of hunted him out and went and watched him one night, and he wasn't really worried about, he'd been doing it a lot longer than us and wasn't really worried about timing and making sure that every second was, filled. And I was like, man, that's just like him just being him, and that's cool, and that's what I want to do. And so from that point on, and then shortly after that, you quit doing the 3-hour wallpaper gigs, and you just take a lot less shows at first. And then there's a whole group of people that don't want anything to do with you because you're not playing 3 hours, you're not doing 3 sets, you're not playing a bunch of covers. And the stuff we do cover to this day isn't anything that's on radio. Played in Texas, everybody will know it. But,
yeah. So those first shows, was it all just covers?
We had.
How long before you started writing your own original stuff?
We had 4 originals to start.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so we worked those in, and then one night at the so the deal, we got an offer to open for, I remember if it was Stoney or it might have been a Whiskey Myers show, but the catch was, he goes, you guys can come open the show, but you have to stay and be the band the next night. And I know that you don't have 3 hours of music, but the only way I can make the money work is for you to open one night and then be the band the next night.
Okay. Oh my god.
And you remember that Jack Ingram song, Barefoot and Crazy?
Oh yeah.
It's 2 chords.
Yeah.
We played that damn thing for 25 minutes.
The Indigada Vida version of it.
Drummer would just, twirl his finger around. As long as the people were on the dance floor,
long solos,
we just hit her again. 2 chords till you're.
Who loved that song? Who wants to hear it again?
And then it's changed owners, and then we kind of started getting a name for ourselves. And it's funny that Turnpike was playing in Scottsdale, and this is how dumb I was back then. But I was, I guess, dumb enough to just be honest. And I reached out to the venue, and I was like, "Hey, man, we play the same kind of music. We're in the same vein. We'd really like to open for them." And this place is like max capacity 300 people.
Oh, okay.
And Turnpike was starting to get some steam. This was like 13 probably, 13 or 14.
This was early.
And he emailed me back, and he's like, "Man, that's really cool that you guys are playing the same kind of music. What kind of draw do you have in Scottsdale?" I email him back, "None at all. We're just hoping to kind of get our foot in the door or whatever."
Right.
Well, he didn't email me back, but a few months later he did. And so that bar in Scottsdale is still kind of, as far as the Coltrane's go, it's still kind of home. And then I was there solo last week. But he said that it came from the fact that he always remembered that I just told him that we just was dead honest. Like, we don't have a draw.
Oh, that's funny. So, Shane, do you remember the moment where you're on stage and you're thinking to yourself, I can do this. This is actually working. Do you remember what that moment was for you?
Yeah. We opened kind of the story I was telling you earlier when we were cracking jokes about Vegas. We opened for Stoney up there in the Museum Club, and I think it was our probably 7th or 8th gig up there. And all of a sudden, like, the strums are lining up with the drummer.
Oh, man.
And the bass is going, and Tej is like interacting with the crowd, and I'm not sweating bullets and shaking. and it's like, man,
you're not sweating in Vegas. That's saying something.
Oh, this was Museum Club. This was before we headed up to Vegas.
Okay.
But it was Stoney, so it was sold out. And it was packed, and that feeling of where you get the crowd buys back into you, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, you could see it.
There's
happen.
an interaction,
yeah.
Right? And I think Tej had like busted into Free Fallin' or something, and people are singing and having fun. And then when you go to the original, like the interaction doesn't change. Like, they're still focused, they're still paying attention, and that's kind of when it was like, This is super cool. I can't believe we get to do this.
Right.
And then the rest of it's been, this music for us. We still all have our jobs, and even going into this solo stuff, being here with you and putting these songs out recently, all of it is just a constant, like, I can't believe that I get to meet these people or know these people, or that I can actually pick up a phone and talk to them if I need them, or get their advice or their input. And that stuff's priceless.
That's awesome.
But you can't be a 4-letter word.
That's right. Any of them.
And you got to be willing to. The other thing that I've found is that people will ask us for advice a lot that are coming up. They don't really want to hear the advice of, keep your head down and just work.
Oh yeah.
You know, I used to tell people, one of my favorite things is if you're good, you'll tell everybody. If you're great, they'll tell you. You know, you don't have to be all over social media talking about how great you are. Just play your music.
Yeah.
If it connects, cool. If it doesn't, keep playing it until somebody does connect with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird balance for sure, because I don't think I've ever written a song for anybody but me.
And I think that's where most successful artists are at. They when you write something that's for you, it's believable.
Right.
And me as an audience, me as a fan, I sense that and I feel that, like, this is this guy or this is this girl, like this is their story. This is the cool thing about it. Yeah, I mean, it's just a fake 45 guys in the room. Everybody takes a sentence, makes a song out of it. It doesn't feel real. It's homogenized, and you just move on. It's background noise.
It's so tough right now though, because like I turned 44 in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is a young man's game by definition. And
so
you
that's
look
Willie.
And
he was
you
50 when he started his thing.
You look at like what works right now and what is working right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to constantly remind myself. That's one of the reasons why the record took so long to actually put it out. I was so just disenchanted with what music had become post-COVID when we kind of started back into things and
Mm-hmm.
writing music and trying to release stuff, and it's like, oh well, it didn't get any spins or it didn't get playlisted or it didn't get this, and it's like, well, I put my heart and soul into that, and for absolutely nobody to listen to it because I didn't have the right video with it or the right PR with it, I had to kind of took a couple of years actually to come to terms with that, because I made this project that's coming out in January in December of 22.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, you know, I put the first song out, which I wrote with Slade, which was before I'm Not Well,
Mm-hmm.
and it did really well. I'm Not Well, I felt like was
that was
just
the song.
punch you in the
That
guts.
was, yeah.
I bet that thing's got 3,000 spins total to this day across all platforms.
I want to go back to the beginning of this conversation when
Okay.
you said you started and you had some Chris Knight songs that you printed out. You started
Yeah.
playing them. Chris Knight doesn't do TikToks.
No,
He doesn't do any of that.
And that's
kind of
what
stuff.
gives me hope.
But like that's somebody, an icon that you look up to.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Absolutely.
Do you want to be remembered as the guy who had the funny TikTok video,
No.
or the song that changed somebody's life?
And I think that's that weird balance I'm talking about, is trying to figure
It's
out how to
hard.
get it into
Yeah.
somebody and not letting it get to you,
Mhm.
which took me, I mean, I went and made that record and I'm like, everybody's going to love these songs because I love these songs. And these guys made them so special, and it was such a thing to me that you put it out and nobody cares. And it's like, oh. But Cody has a thing, Cody Canada, and I'm going to screw it up, I'm sure, but he talks about how he found, I believe it was, I found George Strait, then I found Chris Knight, then I found somebody, and then I found myself, right?
Mhm.
Well, for me, it's I found Chris Knight, then I found Todd Snyder,
Mhm.
then I found BJ Barham, then I found John Moreland, and I'm still looking for myself.
And look at every artist that you just named.
Right.
I mean,
That's
the
what I'm saying.
thing.
That's what gives you hope, right?
Yeah.
Is that you find a way to connect with people,
Absolutely.
and that you can get people to be quiet long enough
Right.
when you're
That's
opening
the hardest part.
when you're opening a show, you know,
or
that's
you're
a full
playing
band.
at a restaurant.
And
Yeah.
luckily, I paid all those dues
Mhm.
with the Coltrane's, and so this has been just really just a passionate project of like, hey, I just want to capture these songs and have them for my kids and for me, and then anything else after that's cool.
Yeah.
But like, you play an opener. I opened for Lowdown Drifters on Wednesday in
Mhm.
Scottsdale at our kind of our home bar. But it's still like you're just a guy with a guitar,
Yeah.
and people are there for a full band show, and you're trying to capture, you know, attention and things like that. And I know people that'll stand there and go, hey, shut up or go outside. You know, I'm here to play. You need to listen. I can't.
You're not that guy.
I can't
I
do
can
it.
see it on your face. You're not that
I
guy.
can't. Not with a straight face anyway.
Right. Lucky mister.
Right.
It doesn't work.
No, when people are being loud, there's that song Virginia by Whiskey Myers
Yeah.
that starts really loud. It's
Mhm.
like earthquakes and hurricanes.
Yeah.
If people are being loud, I just
That's the song.
felt that song at the top of my voice or top of my range, because I know if they don't quiet down for that, I got no chance. I might as well just play whatever I feel like playing
Yeah.
for the rest of the
Start goofing
Right.
off,
yeah.
practicing new songs right there
Right.
in the middle of it.
Right.
Consider yourself an Americana artist?
I think so. I always joke around and say I think the The solo stuff with just me and a guitar probably lands a little more on the folk side. I'll never forget the first night we met Charlie Stout. He said, he goes, "Let me guess, you're Americana." I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, you Americana."
You don't have a flat brim hat on. I can't tell.
He's like, "You Americana, what did he say? You Americana country, you Americana folk?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man." Just busting our balls.
Take a picture and shut up.
Right.
Move on.
But I feel like the solo stuff that I write tends to be on the slower, real, more introspective side of things.
Singer-songwriter-ish more. Yeah.
With the Coltrane's, I say, well, we're not rock enough to be rock, but we're not country enough to be country.
Right.
So you automatically kind of lay in that Americana vein.
I think that's a catch-all.
Right.
Really do. But
yeah,
that's kind of cool. That's what I love about Americana is every band is different. Everybody has a different elevator pitch on what kind of music they play.
For sure.
And that's really neat.
And just some of those relationships that we were talking about that we've built over the years, we've always been those guys that want all the advice and all the I love people that I don't ever have to wonder where I'm at with them or what they think.
Right. Yeah.
Which can be hard to find in the music business because a lot of people tend to surround themselves with yes people or they only want to hear how great they are. And I think we were really blessed to have some people in the beginning that were like, no, you need to
don't.
Yeah, there's a guy running around here. You've probably heard of him. I don't know if you guys are playing his stuff or not, but his name's Jeremy Graham, and he was way ahead of us in the game and heard a song of ours and cut one of our songs early on and pulled us in the studio and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you make this EP. You need to get an EP made." I'll never forget. I was in the studio. I'd never sang before, and I'm singing in there for an hour and a half, same over and over. And finally, I'm like, "Jeremy, I'm dumping sweat. I'm in a vocal booth." I'm like, "What are you looking for?" He goes, "I'm looking for it to not suck. Do it again." And he'd have us open for them. And then when we were done the next day, "Hey guys, this was good. Don't do this so much." Like that kind of stuff's priceless.
It is. It is. To have somebody that gives you some honesty.
Yeah.
Is
because your family and the people that love you aren't going to tell
you
that
the greatest ever. Yeah.
Right. They're not going to tell you that you're mediocre. They're not going to say, "Hey, you think you could pick a different line?" I would send something to Jeremy and some other friends early on, and he'd go, "I really feel like you took the easy way out there."
Yeah.
Like, that line, how hard did you work on that line? Well, it kind of does this. And he's like, "Yeah." And then you hear Todd Snyder talk about writing songs, and he's like, if you say what people are expecting you to say in the very next, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And it's that balance, because sometimes you write a song and it needs that simplicity here and there. Everything doesn't need to be Jason Isbell or John Moreland, but trying to find that balance. And I struggle with that because I got so many half-written songs and quarter-written songs, and this one I just played is a great example of that. Teach had the idea and kind of some lines, and then we got half of it written, and it's set for 6 or 7 years.
Really? Wow.
I had that third verse. And I think the first version of it was I was talking about, with religion and people throwing stones. And everybody wants to throw stones. And so that stone's piled high on my front porch. They seem to think I'm lost. And then what I took to Mac was the follow-up was like, I think it was stones piled high on my front porch. They seem to think I'm lost. And 3 days a week, they'll show me the way to the cross. And Mac's like, "I think there's a way better way we can start." And then him and I went off on this tangent about growing up in church and religion and expectations, and that's how that you speak of love unconditional while you pile those conditions on.
Yeah.
But that came from me and him just riffing on religion,
just having a conversation
over a Zoom. Yeah, while we were messing with that song.
That is so funny.
So
sometimes it's those weird moments like that, man.
Yeah, just not taking the easy way out. That's another reason why I write with Slade a lot. Him and I, we were Coltrane's, and him and Jordan Nix and I think Stelly were all on a festival in Mexico a couple years ago, and Slade and I were standing side stage watching Roger Klein. And I don't remember what started the conversation, but I found out that his songwriting guys were Chris Knight and Todd Snyder, like to start.
Oh, weird.
Especially Chris Knight.
Yeah.
And so we Zoom. We've probably written 4 or 5. He's written 2 on that record together, and then I've got a brand new one. The next one coming out I wrote with him, and then I've got a brand new one that I haven't done anything with that's done that I wrote with him. And so I'll get an idea and I'll send him the idea. And the way I write is I just pile up lines and ideas, and then I just ship it all to him, and then he'll chew on it, and then we kind of reconvene.
He's kind of the puzzle master.
And then we kind of get back together and start messing with the melody, and then we start piecing all the lines together. And finding people that you write with like that is also really priceless. It's just like personalities matching and the things that people. I got lucky with Tej because that's all I wrote. That's the only person I wrote songs with for years. And then with the COVID and everybody just kind of dying off and doing their own thing, I still had this outlet and lots of things to say. And we had a thing with the Coltrane's that we didn't want to write sad, slow songs, but I had this love affair with. Look at all the influences that I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was a great outlet for me to be able to write those with other people and on my own. And that's where all this came from, was just me had a pile of songs that I wanted to capture and have forever. And then everything's just kind of gone from that.
That's wild. Wild. We're chatting with Shane Britt. Shane, last question I always like to ask this. If you could trade lives with one Americana artist for a day, who would that be?
Do I get to be in their brains? do I get to be in their brains or just their life?
Everything. You get to control the whole thing.
I would love to spend a day digging around John Moreland's brain.
Right?
The way that I'm a music guy. I grew up in a music house, but I always tell people, if somebody wants me to describe, send me one song, it is always 3:59 a.m. from the record In the Throes.
That's the one.
And if people are like, send me a record, just your record, it's In the Throes. And so I would love to dig around his brain. The way that we discovered him was I was the biggest American Aquarium fan. BJ Barham more so, but we went to the first road trip to Raleigh and the second road trip to Raleigh. There's a song on the Coltrane's record about one of those nights in Raleigh.
Oh, how funny.
But BJ, I saw John Moreland on the first year he did it. It was the second night was John Moreland, then Turnpike, and then American Aquarium.
Dear God.
And BJ's like, well, if you don't know who John Moreland is, you better find out. And this is like 2015 or 14 or 15. And it's Raleigh, man. It's Lincoln Theater. They are rowdy as hell. We're in there. Like, we had been waiting outside to be the first people in. So the theater fills up. It's 8 o'clock. I'm like, man, they're like rednecks out here. Like, they're hammered. And it's like 8:30. There's bottles flying in the air, man. And it's wild. And it's loud. And there's just a chair and a Martin guitar leaned up against the chair in the middle of the stage. And I'm like, if somebody thinks they're going to come out here and calm this crowd down, that's a very brave man. And I'd never seen Moreland before, listened to a few of his songs. He came out and he sat down in that chair, and you could hear a pin drop for 45 minutes, other than claps between his songs.
Wouldn't that be a dream moment for you to be able to do something like that? I think anybody that ever picks up a guitar and wants to write a song would love a moment just like that, at least.
And
once
he had a whole night of it. Like, it was 45 minutes, and the only noise, not a
people crying,
not a hey man, or like bottles clanking, nothing. And then he finished the song, everybody would clap, he would say thank you, and he would go into another one. And I was just completely mesmerized.
For me, it's Latchkey Kid. That's my favorite.
Okay,
man, just like Moreland.
See,
I'm a huge Moreland fan.
And it's funny how you get hooked on. So, like, for Randy Rogers, it's Roller Coaster. I was so excited when they did Roller Coaster. Random thought, but they put it out on vinyl or whatever. But it's funny how you get attached to a record, right?
Yeah.
And then I got attached to In the Throes, and about the time I was attached, he put out High on Tulsa Heat.
Yeah.
Which is also just full of phenomenal writing. But you hang on as a fan, you hang on so tight.
This is mine.
To that original record that it's like, nope, they've peaked. This is their best.
Well, they spent their whole life writing that first album.
And as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate all the different aspects of the other one. So I think he put out a song. I don't think it's Latchkey Kid's phenomenal, but he's got one that talks about, I wish I could go take my nickels in and go cash out. Let's float these gutters up past heaven's gates.
Yeah.
A lie I chose to believe.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, there's
Okay, he's okay.
He's got it. It's just
that was probably left over from the first time when it couldn't fit on there, right?
It's funny how you just get so attached to
absolutely.
to those lifetime records.
Yeah.
But I've raised 2 kids. My oldest is 21 and my youngest is a senior this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both just music junkies.
Oh, that's awesome.
But what's super rewarding as a parent and a musical parent is you walk in the house and you hear jazz, or you hear Miles Davis, or you hear Tay Tay from my daughter's room, to Adele, all the way over to like she's a big Noah Khan. I don't know how to pronounce it. Khan. Noah Khan fan.
So he's a fake. So I got it. Okay.
But
I knew it.
I love that my kids love to listen to lyrics, and I hope that I like to believe it's because they were raised on the lyrical side of music and saying something that means something.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, they absorb what's around them. So
the poor kids grew up in booths and backs of clubs because they would be with us, and they'd be like, "Hey, can we stay?" I remember we opened for Roger. I think it was Roger Krager one time, and the kids were with us for. So we were playing Friday night, and then there was some big festival, like family thing going on the next day in Flagstaff.
So they come with you,
and so we took them with us. Yeah. Brandon, the owner, at the time, I was like, "Can my kids just hang out?" And he's like, "No, your kids can't hang out. This is a bar." And I was like, "We'll put them in this back booth." They had like a booth kind of way in the back. And I was like, "They'll just hang out. They'll be fine." And once we realized that they would let us do that, my kids did it all the time.
Oh, they probably loved it.
But I didn't have to worry about them really partying because they grew up around a bunch of drunk
Well, they
idiots.
can handle their liquor, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
They grew up around a bunch of drunk idiots, so they
saw the dark side of it. Like, I'm never drinking.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, Shane, Britt, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you having me.
How about one more song, if you don't mind?
Yeah, this one it's the first song I released. I wrote it with Slay Coulter, and I found myself divorced at 28. And after a few years of disastrous dating, I realized that I might be the problem. And I just kind of took everything that women had said to me and that I had said to women over the years and put them kind of in notes. Like I said, we ship notes back and forth. And I had this idea, and I said, if I had $1 for all the times that I've been told that I'm hard to love, you're easy to like, but you are hard to love. And so we wrote this song.
All right.
Wish I knew what I meant to you before my colors all bled through. Things never work out like they should. Didn't get to, never got the chance to lie and say that I would change my ways for good. 'Cause this ain't for the faint of heart, babe. Tell the truth, it probably never was. 'Cause I'm easy to like, babe, but I'm hard to love. Why do I play pretend? Play the part just to draw you in, knowing I could never hold your heart. All the pain from all these years makes me say what you want to hear, making sure we're finished from the start. 'Cause this ain't for the faint of heart, babe. Tell the truth, it probably never was. 'Cause I'm easy to like, babe, but I'm hard to love. Chalk another one up for the losing team. Hey, that's just how it goes. I won't say a single thing that you don't think you know. 'Cause this ain't for the faint of heart, babe. Tell the truth, it probably never was. 'Cause I'm easy to like, babe. 'Cause this ain't for the faint of heart, babe. Tell the truth, it probably never was. 'Cause I'm easy to like, babe. But I'm hard to love. Real hard to love.
Very nice. Shane Britt joining us here on the Ranch Sitdown, man. Thank you so much for
Dude, thanks for having
flying
me.
in to do this interview and then flying back
I
out. That's
wouldn't have
just
missed
wild.
it for the world, man.
That blows
Would
me
not
away
have
that you would
missed
do
it.
that.
I don't have the words to tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity.
Call the flight attendants. You're getting extra peanuts on the way home.
All right, I appreciate
Don't
it.
brag about it. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate
Yeah,
you,
man.
man. You're,
Thanks for
you're
having us.
releasing some really cool stuff. Can't wait to hear what's next.
I appreciate it.